Good morning, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Health Discourse with Sakshi and Sushant. So, good morning, Sushant.
Morning. Yeah.
Today, our focus of this discussion is going to be around oral microbiome. So, I think it's been since 4 5 years, we have seen that gut microbiome and discussions around it have become very much prominent among people, and not in the West, also in the East, right? Now, Sushant, I would like you to begin this discussion by shedding some light on how oral microbiome impacts our overall health.
Okay. So we all know that microbes live on and inside our body, right? And few basics. Uh, they constitute 50%, 57% of cells inside our body. They constitute around 99% genes that are expressed in our body, right? So microbes play a vital role, whether it is digesting food, giving us vitamins, producing neurotransmitter hormones, regular physiology, right? In simple words, most of the biological functions are outsourced to these microbes, right? And we really need to know not which microbes are there, but what functions they're performing, what genes they're expressing, what metabolites they're secreting, right? And over, as you rightly pointed out, over the last few years, the focus has been gut microbiome, more so because it is the largest colonizer of microbes in our body, right? So there are 100 billion microbes, right? Which is much diverse than any other microbial ecosystem inside our body. But another part which we have missed and without which we cannot actually measure biology in detail or in totality is the microbes living in our mouth, right? Although there are 100 billion microbes living in the mouth, right? But they are much more dense, right? And the microbes in the mouth and those in the gut are called kissing partners or kissing cousins, right? And there's a great love affair between the microbes in the gut and mouth, right? And they both share the same epithelial cell lining, right? And both have a mucosal membrane barrier which prevents bad things from entering the bloodstream and going to different body organs, and they allow good things to go. And that's how the oral microbiome has a very vital role to play, right? In terms of they allow vitamins and minerals and a lot of these beneficial things to move in bloodstream in different parts of the body, but it prevents the different microbes, bad microbes, or probably the metabolites secreted by them to enter the other parts of the body, and that is a great role. That's the important role of the barrier, right? And again, this barrier is unlike gut; it is much thick, right? And yet permeable and porous, right? So it also have an saliva on the top of it, so which has the immunoglobulins and antimicrobial proteins and a lot of enzymes, right? Which make sure that it is much more thicker than your gut lining, right? So again, so they not only impact, so similar to gut. So when we eat something, these microbes sense the food substrate. It expresses a particular gene which either produces good things and bad things, right? If it produces bad things, it triggers, it makes your immune system overactive. It triggers inflammation, which is one of the reasons for various other health issues, right? In terms of functionality, generally, microbes in our mouth pre-digest the food, right? If anyone would remember that our grandparents used to tell you chew your food properly, right? And uh, they were actually talking science because when you chew your food properly, it mixes with saliva and it is pre-processed and pre-digested and converted into something byproduct which can be easily absorbed in the small intestine and large intestine, right? Simultaneously, these microbes also releases certain metabolites, right? Uh, which actually acts as signals to various body organs, including the gut microbiome, including the pancreas, right? For instance, if you are consuming something sweet, right, they pre-digest the food and send a biochemical signal to pancreas, telling that you have intolerant, we have intolerant something sweet, please start releasing insulin, right? So that's a kind of molecular interaction or the biochemical uh, signaling happening inside the body, right? So, uh, if you're eating the right food, if you are eating the foods compatible with your oral biology, you're feeding the right microbe with the right nutrients, they're going to produce beneficial metabolites, which is going to improve your health, right? Prevent to decay, prevent gum disease, periodontal disease, and a lot of these things, right? But if you are feeding them the wrong things, they start producing harmful metabolites, right? triggers inflammation over a period of time. This inflammation start, you know, impacting your gums, right, your teeth, your, it allows certain, it leads to leaky mouth, and it allows certain metabolites and bacteria to move out of mouth and go to different parts. And this is where, it triggers systemic inflammation, right? And so some of these bacteria and metabolites can move to heart, cause heart disease, can move to brain, cause brain disease, right? Dementia, you know, diabetes, through. So if your nitric oxide is one of those gas which is produced by your microbiome, right? And if your oral microbiome is imbalanced, probably it impacts your insulin signaling, impacts your sexual health, and impacts your kidney function, a lot of these things. But what has been missed right now is that some of the autoimmune issues which starts on mouth have never been studied properly, right? And that is what I want to, stress upon today is irritable bowel syndrome, whether it is ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, right? And uh, when we talk of IBD, the starting point is bloating, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, a lot of these things, right? But it stems we think it stems from the gut, right? And more so, yeah, it stems from the gut because it's a digestive issue, and so 70% immune cells are on our gut lining. So it's an autoimmune disorder. It's most of them is linked to the gut. But now what we have found that IBD is also caused by your oral microbiome, right? So microbes in the mouth.
That's pretty surprising that, issues which happen in colon, they can also be triggered by mouth. Because, earlier we used to think that it is only because of an unhealthy gut or whatever slangs they like to use for gut health. And they used to think that, problems in the gut, they are causing you all the digestive issues and all. But it is really surprising that digestive issues are actually caused by microbes in the mouth as well.
Yeah.
So
So how it happens is that if you see every day we swallow around 1.5 liter of saliva, right? So through saliva, through chewing of food, through brushing techniques, a lot of these microbes on our teeth, everywhere on our mouth, on our tongue, on our saliva, move from the upper part, from one part of the digestive tube, which is your mouth, to your digestive tract, right? And if your oral microbiome is balanced, probably the good bacteria, the bacteria is performing a beneficial function or beneficial metabolites would move from your mouth to the gut, and your health is doing very well, fine, right? Uh, but when your oral microbes is imbalanced, probably you are taking too much of sugar, your toothpaste is high in chloride, you're taking artificial sweeteners, you have a lot of SLS in your toothpaste, right? You're breathing from your mouth, right? There are multiple things, or you're feeding wrong things, you're eating foods which are not compatible with your oral biology. Again, it could trigger, gum inflammation issues, right? Okay, and it could trigger leaky gum and a lot of these symptoms, which are predictive of gum disease and periodontal disease, right? And it allows certain bacteria and these metabolites to actually move from from mouth to gut, right? And for instance, I'll give you an example, right? Before I may went into a more on and again, uh, if someone is taking PPIs and have an acid reflux issue, right, where PPIs actually wipe off all your acids, right? So there's a very higher risk increased by even 10x in terms of causing IBD by oral microbiome, because these common cell bacteria may start doing pathogenic activities and may move from oral to gut, which increases the risk of IBD, by more than 10 times, right? So essentially, uh, we have to keep our oral microbiome balance. One of the bacteria, right? You must have heard of H. pylori, right? Again, H. pylori is something we get into our stomach's epithelial lining. It destroys the damage the cell there, and it causes stomach ulcers. It causes gastric cancer. It causes digestive issues, right? And again, H. pylori is an oral microbiome. A lot of people do not know that, right? If you sequence your oral microbiome, you will understand. It is found on your teeth, right? So again, one of the most harmful bacteria, Physiobacterium nucleatum, right? Which is causes IBD, and which also causes colorectal cancer, is actually an oral microbiome, right? So
So you are saying that cancer detection can also happen through your oral microbiome. There is a
yeah,
possibility we can detect
yeah,
cancer.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So essentially, the problem is, if you're finding this bacteria in your gut, if you're sequencing gut microbiome, finding this bacteria in your gut, so probably you already have a leaky mouth, right? Because gut and oral share around 50% of the microbiome, right? There's overlapping of more than 45%, right? So essentially, there are
I also have a question. What about the fungus called candidas? Because candida plays a very vital role in a lot of
yeah,
autoimmune
yeah,
conditions.
yeah. So Canada is found in mouth also. Again,
Okay. So
when you
when
consume
somebody has a coated tongue or symptoms like whatever histamine issues, it
that
triggers with
can
the onset of.
histamine, I'm not sure. We have not seen much research about histamine or oral microbiome connection, but obviously gut, obviously we have a connection with the histamine, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Candida are found in the mouth, right? It can trigger a lot of oral health issues, even systemic health issues, right?
Hmm.
And even the indication of IBD, right,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
starts at least 15 years before the actual IBD symptoms show up, and that stems in your mouth. So if you have bleeding gums, if you have oral cavities, if you have gum disease, if you have periodontal disease, if you have
So with
gingivitis,
bleeding gums, we also mean when you're brushing the teeth and your blood is appearing in throughout the
yeah,
brushing.
yeah, yeah. So
So that
bleeding
is
gums,
also a bleeding gum. Okay.
like we have a leaky gut, we have a leaky mouth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So bleeding gums is
Okay.
one of the indication that your mouth is becoming more permeable to allow certain things to move out of mouth to different parts of the body, right? So so again, IBD may be linked to certain metabolites released by the gut microbiome, like methane gas, like hydrogen sulfide ammonia, like LPS, right? But it actually, in a lot of cases, also stems from mouth, right? And these indications come from the mouth. So essentially, we generally see we are gene critics when when we have a specific for oral microbiome, right?
Mm-hmm.
We study the genes expression of the microbes and the function of the microbes in the mouth, right? So we could even look at symptoms such as bleeding gums and tooth decays, right? Which is an early indication of IBD. Obviously, we look at different pathways to establish that causation, right? But obviously, we these could be the starting point, and obviously, you can't. So people who have periodontal disease have a higher risk of IBD and vice versa, right? So, it is not only about your things happening in your gut, it also about things happening in your mouth. And as you rightly said, the food what we eat is first available to the microbes in the mouth, right? And this is something which everyone should understand, that we think, okay, we eat food and it is digested for understand. What about things happening in the mouth, right? So if you are taking and I'll give you one more interesting thing here, right? So when you're taking artificial sweeteners, right, which again does not have sugar, but it gives you a sweet tooth, right? Just to satisfy your sweet cravings, right? But what happens is when your oral microbe pre-digestive process these artificial sweeteners, they think it is something sweet, right? And they send a biochemical signal to pancreas that start releasing insulin. But there is no glucose to be metabolized because artificial sweetener doesn't have glucose. So your pancreas start releasing insulin, right? Uh, there's no glucose to be metabolized over a period of time. You become insulin intolerant. Second thing is it's a perfect business model because when you have insulin, your cravings for sugar increases. It reduces your blood sugar level. Your craving for sugar increases, so you start eating more sugar. It is a perfect business model for any FMCG and sugar-laden goods to actually put artificial sweeteners and for the people to consume. And it is starts from the oral microbiome, right? So there are multiple things to look at here, right? So your food is first available to your microbe in the mouth, right? And microbe in the mouth is connected to virtually every single chronic disease. Now, even dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, right? IBD, I mentioned, colon cancer, sexual health issues, right? Arthritis, chronic kidney disease. So it's all, if there's a leaky mouth or there's a lot of inflammation going on in the mouth, which could actually allow certain bacteria and certain metabolites to move from mouth to different parts of the body, which could which could trigger inflammation, right? And which could cause systemic health issues. So my only thing is, if people have the issues or IBD issues, and if you're going for certain supplements or certain probiotics or some solutions based on your gut, you have to first decode why you have an IBD, what is the root cause, right? It may stem from mouth, right? And if you are taking probiotics to feed your gut, you don't know first thing which bacteria is active, which is not there, whether it is producing a metabolite or not, right? Again, it would further stem further gut health issues because you don't know, you're just taking a guesswork, right? So all these probiotic supplements which are available in India are just waste of time and money, and it is the biggest health disaster which we have seen. You have to check, again, our recent research came which mentioned that there is a connection between emulsifiers and cancer risk, right? So prostate cancer is connected with a lot of emulsifiers. Recent research report came. So and all these probiotics have emulsifiers. So probably that's not a part of discussion. But I'm saying, you have to understand why you have a digestive issue and where it stems from. So if you have an given a history of oral health issues since your childhood days, right? So probably it has stemmed from mouth, right? Or some people it is because of acid reflux. It causes methane gas. It triggers IBD or IBDC, right? Uh, IBSC or IBSD, right? So again, C is constipation based diarrhea. Again, if you have a lot of aldehyde production, right? It could trigger diarrhea or ammonia and methane gas could trigger a lot of constipation, right? And again, it is all. So these may stem from gut and oral bone or both, right? Again, you need to understand the underlying cause. You need to figure out, you know, decode every single biological function or molecular activity happening inside the body, what pathways are being activated, right? A small thing in the mouth could activate multiple pathways downstream, right? So it has a microbe in the mouth have a downstream impact on various biological processes, right? So, so do not just think that IBD is only about your microbes in the gut or your digestive issues, right? It may stem from the mouth as well. Yeah.
I think this was a pretty interesting insight that you gave us about the connection between oral microbiome and our overall health. So I think with this we can come to a conclusion that it is very important to focus on oral microbiome, and let alone dentistry and whatever dental procedures are there. They might not
Hmm.
be enough. I mean, they are there though, but what is your take on that?
See, so current practices of dental health practices are focused on mostly post-symptomatic uh, conditions, right? So probably you go for fillings, you have tooth decay, you have gum disease, right? So a lot of operative procedure which happens, right? Again, they are a way of uh, managing your health post symptom. So it's post symptomatic or what we call a symptom management, right? So I'm not seeing a lot of dental professionals focusing on oral microbiome in India as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I have not visited too much of dentists. I have never had such issue in my life as till now, as far as dental health is concerned, right? But what I understand is that in terms of speaking with a lot of dental clinics over the past few months, right? I have seen that there is a lot of gap in bridging the gap between clinical dentistry and systemic health, right? So we generally, for instance, when we talk of people are talking of type 2 diabetes, right? Type 2 because diabetes can stem from the mouth, right? Even fluoride in your toothpaste could cause type 2 diabetes, right? And we brush our teeth twice a day, right? So we are actually ingesting a lot of fluoride inside our body, which may trigger systemic health conditions. So we have to see, first of all, we have to understand that what all interactions are happening inside the body at a molecular level, right? Well before the disease crops up, right? So any disease is not something which happens overnight. It is an endless uh, functions or endless wrong choices being made, which we may not know is wrong, right? Because we are following the generic nutrition interventions, right? Uh, So we have to understand how everything what we take in our mouth changes our biology and chemistry at a molecular level. So if we could understand that, and we could understand probably, what specific pathways are triggering a specific disease or will trigger a specific disease, and how could we actually suppress those pathways or molecules just by nutrition is a true way of preventative health, right? And that's should be focused on, right? So a lot of these molecular symptoms or molecular indications happens 2 decades before the disease pops up, right? And there's no diagnostic test or no dental assessment which could tell you probably you're going to develop periodontal disease or gum disease after 10 years, right? And then once we have the symptom, then we try to suppress those. So that's how our healthcare system has worked till now, and that's why people like us come in, right? So we bridge that gap. We help healthcare professionals to actually get access to a lot of molecular information which they may never have, right? So that they can actually really treat the disease or prevent the disease from happening. Right?
I think that was a pretty, I think that was elaborate that you have given about the systemic health problems. And I think for the benefit of everyone, it's better that, they should be focusing on oral health quite often. Because what happens is that we tend to overlook it and it's not going to do us any good, right?
Mm.
So with this, we come to the end of this discussion. And Sushant, any last words would you like to add here?
So I think we have discussed a lot, but thing is, take care of your oral health. Throw out the toothpaste which are having fluoride. Start avoiding emulsifiers and artificial sweeteners. Do not have sugar in your diet, right? And do not go for generic nutrition interventions. Fix your biology, understand your biology, decode your molecular biology, understand what pathways are being activated, what is happening inside the body, what changes happens when you ingest a particular food, right? So do not go for fat diets, do not fall for, sudden interventions. Understand your biology, get a digital footprint of your biology, right? That's what I want to say. That
Thank you, Sushant. Thank you so
thank
much
you.
for this very, very interesting discussion. And for all our listeners, thank you so much for listening to us. We are available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Keep listening to our podcast. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.